Hi, hi, hi! It's chucking it down with rain here. Feels really quite oppressive. It was gorgeous summer the other day. I was digging the veg patch and everything. No, it just feels like we've slipped back a little bit. But never mind. Oh, Jesus. Something just fell down outside the room. It's fine. And then a meow of a cat. Oh, Rosie was trying to get into a cupboard and absolutely fluffed it. Bless him. Well, he'll sort himself out. But what are we going to do? We are going to have a much less clattering time of it, looking at our live stream agenda. Right, what's on the cards for this week? If people can stop knocking things over. We are going to do the usual. We are going to look at things that have changed and things that may yet change. We're going to look at reach in terms of your being able to reach ever more customers, readers, retailers, get your books out there where they can do some good. Today we're going to be looking at ONIX in our expertise box. We're also going to be taking a little scamper down the lanes of rights, which will be thrilling, and we're going to try and combine those two things, a little bit of ONIX and a little bit of seeing how some of those are expressed in sales rights and seeing how they're expressed in ONIX. Depth and speed will inevitably cover our amazing data studio, so let's crack on and see what is what. So first up is change. A very small change has occurred in the interface, but it seemed to take a long time, so I thought it had earned its keep on a slide here. It's the in-house contact ID that has quietly appeared, and I'm also going to show you progress on that prototype. And it made me think, I can barely remember from week to week what we covered previously, so I don't expect that you should have to, but for the last couple of weeks, we have been looking at a potential feature coming up in Consonance that has come about from some excellent feedback at the London Book Fair. I have been showing you its evolution from extremely scrappy to maybe plausible. We're not there yet, but we will continue to chip away. So I'll show you what we've got right now, and the reason for me showing you on the internet is to solicit feedback. If there's anything you don't like, think is a bit weird, definitely get in touch and we can chip away. So the first thing I'll show you is this in-house contact ID. I'm going to go over to Consonance. I've landed on the wrong page. So this is it's on my local computer as ever, so none of this data is real. This isn't really AA Milne, although I did pop in the ISNI number just to scratch that itch. So this is an imaginary record for a person or organisation on Consonance who is a contributor to a book. Doesn't really matter. It could be a supplier, could be a printer, could be a data aggregator, could be anyone. And you put various things in here, and then you can use them in custom reports, in other exports and so forth. And it's in the ID numbers section that there's just a single new input. It's called the in-house contact ID. So we've had in-house supplier ID for a while, we've had in-house customer ID, and now we've got in-house contact ID. And if we hover over the help thingies, and go up enough, the supplier ID is, if this person is your supplier, then you can put down the supplier ID that makes sense to you. If this person is your customer, then put down the ID that makes sense to you. If this person has another ID in another system that you have to use, then put that in here. We could have called it legacy identifier, but that's got a bit of tone about it. Just because it's another system doesn't mean it's not kind of extant or current or in use. So this is a way to join up systems, isn't it? Whenever you see an ID, that's what you're trying to do. So if you've got another system that contains contact information and that system has given you an ID. Now, it could be a long integer, it could be a human readable word, it could be pretty much anything, I suppose. Thinking of what it wouldn't be. Can't be an image. It wouldn't be a huge block of HTML. It's a terse piece of text that is going to identify this record, so that you can marry up this system with other systems. And so if you put something in there, then that's great. You've got the link there. The reason why this took so long, that is now also available in your contact custom reports. So that means it can be added to a spreadsheet or a PDF. It's also available in search in the Data Studio. And it's also, now if I save this, it's in our means of getting data into the database and so forth. It's all nicely tested and everything. I am sure I'm missing out something on where it also is, and I only did this like yesterday or the day before. Anyway, point is, if you want to store that information, hop over to your address book area. That will work for either a person or an organisation. Hooray. While we're here, let's click on the ISNI link here, because this is a great example of the world working how you think it should work. People coming together to bring clarity and a lack of confusion to what data is what. I'm going to click on this, and this is going to take us to the ISNI website. And I've learnt on this website you have to double tap. So do it twice. So these are all of the ways that famous author A.A. Milne, author of the Pooh Corner and all that, House of Pooh Corner, these are all of the ways that this person has been referenced throughout the internet, throughout libraries, and it's just extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, obviously you have to express people's names in different scripts if they're being cited in those different languages, but it just is such an interesting thing to think, well, there's only one A.A. Milne, right? Surely. But this is something we see quite a lot. If I can zoom in. When it comes to disambiguating contact information, always look for the dots and the initials. So here's A dot no space A dot space Milne. Here's A dot space Milne. Here's another way of saying it with a bit of text afterwards. There's another one. We've got bullet points here. We've got full names here. There's contact information is the absolute doozy for having to really, closely disambiguate it and to expect this sort of variation in your data. And it's an absolutely cracking selling point for having one version of the truth. And then you don't need to say, is it A.A. Milne or is it A.A. Milne? And you should go and see the Shakespeare one as well. Goes on for pages. Really interesting. Anyway, an aside, I digress. So that is that new field just there. The other thing I was going to show you was progress on our prototype. So here is pipelines, as you know and love them. These have been in consonants for ages and ages. You get to them by going here, main menu, and click on pipelines. You can have as many as you want. They're not tied to, they're quite freeform actually. So if you use any sort of project management tool that uses this kanban methodology, philosophy, design principle, whatever, then that's what we're talking about here. We've got columns and we add cards to these columns. These columns can be considered statuses of some sort, and you move your cards through the statuses until you're done in whatever it is you are trying to do. So I've just randomly said that this is some sort of, imagination land. We're planning a symposium in 2026. We're not planning a symposium. Too much to do. Don't even know what a symposium is. Can't plan one. And let's imagine that we're considering some works for inclusion in this so-called symposium. We've got a column for things we're considering, things we've approved, and things we've discarded. And the way that we do it is we add a card, and then we'll choose something like exemplar. So this is just a random work I have kicking around that hasn't really got much data on it. And so this is how things are coming on here. We've got some to-dos, and none out of 32 have been completed so far. One of them is overdue, and we haven't got any discussions. If we click on this card, then I'm going to pull up the project management status situation for this particular work. And here are all of my to-dos on it, none of which have been done. Watch on the left here. If I tick one of these boxes, this overdue one, then that's going to update the little card behind it. And now it's removed the overdueness because now we're a little bit more up to date. If we had discussions, then they would be added here. If we had roles, then they would be added here. And if I get rid of that, let's have a look to see what other aspects we've got. We've got metadata here. So this is kind of like the metadata overview page that we have, obviously at the work level, but you're able to kind of dip into it without losing your place on the page, and then dip out again. Lovely. What else have we got? We've got an about this card. So this was a fantastic idea. Thank you, you know who you are, for writing in saying, can we have? Popped a little audit trail on here. So this will keep a track of the movements of this card throughout these stages. So let's move our exemplar from considering to approved. Hooray! Now when we go into about this card, we can see that that has happened. It's moved from considering to approved. So that's really nice if you want to keep that sort of tracker for retrospective purposes, to think, well, yeah, how did that go? What did we do? Then that's great there. If we add a contact to this, AA Milne, then we're also going to be able to see a contact card. So this is again a thing that pops up, just like the super duper contact overview that we have elsewhere. But here it is all sort of, safely contained here. If I hit the escape button, then we're still on that page. So kind of an interesting way to make the most of your one version of the truth. Maybe next time I'll show you how the roles and the to-dos are working, because if we put in fact I'll just hop in and do one. So if we put a person, so is Emma in here? Yeah. If we put a person responsible for this particular to-do, then because that to-do isn't done, this is an open to-do and my name will appear on it. So, if I'm coming to this page, I kind of don't care what my colleagues are doing. I just want to know, gosh, what on all of the cards on this page, because, there would be more than one, where should I point my attention? What's my problem? So this is Emma looming here. If the user Emma had put an avatar on their user profile, then that picture would appear here as well. So some of our clients do that really well, kind of almost like colour code or sort of image code their avatar, so that when they see that around the system, they don't sort of have to think which Emma is that, because publishing, everyone's called Emma. So that's quite nice as well. So that is how that's coming along. There's loads more we can do. Would love to hear any comments, any thoughts. But thank you so much for all of the great thoughts so far. It's really nice to sort of build in public, as it were, and to hear what ideas get sparked. And that idea about the audit trail, absolutely super. Wouldn't have done that had it not been for a really insightful bit of feedback there. So 2 thumbs up. Right, back to our agenda. Let's see where we've got to. We've done change. That's all you change for the week. It's a big slide, isn't it? Good Lord. I've put this rather boldly under expertise.
It should be more under like fiddly complicated things in publishing where the same word gets used to describe completely different things. You're welcome. And publishing walks off. We're going to talk about the difference between licensed rights in the head contract, sales rights, and rights deals. I mean, when you're in the moment, this makes absolute sense. You completely know which direction up and down the supply chain you're pointing. If you're trying to sell the French rights to a French publisher, you're not confused about whether you're talking about the head contract at that point. You know it's a rights deal. But we're going to just pick through where these things are in consonance, and we're going to talk about any links between them, where you should look, etc., etc. It's just, it's just so annoying that the same word is used for 3 different things. And it's not a word that we've made up. So we will dive in and have a look. I'll get rid of the ISNI page. I'll get rid of that page. So what we're going to do, we are going to have a look, first of all, at the start of the process, the point at which you, the publisher, acquire or license particular rights from the IP holder, the intellectual property holder. So this is before you've published the work, before you've even decided maybe that you're going to publish the work. You are at pre-contract stage. And you are talking in excited tones to the intellectual property holder about what exactly you are going to be taking on and doing your best with. So I just want to make sure I go to the right page for this. It's this page? No, it's this page. Anyway, thought I'd try and be efficient, but not being efficient. So here's an imaginary book that we will or will not publish. Don't know. It's imaginary, so don't know. And I'm going to go first of all to the contract area. So the contract is the bit of paper that will eventually be emailed or sent in the post to the author or agent for signature. And it contains all of the details about what you have agreed with them. So the author can see really clearly, okay, I am kind of giving this publisher the right to use the film rights and the large print rights and the reprint rights. And if they go to Frankfurt Book Fair or if they go to the London Book Fair and they manage to sell large print rights to somebody, the author, I'm going to get 20% of that deal, 20% of the money that comes from that deal. So the sort of rights we're talking about here are right at the start, are at the beginning of the process. It's to achieve clarity between the publisher and the IP holder. You can tell I'm picking my words so carefully. Don't use the word rights as any more than is absolutely strictly necessary. The IP holder is licensing the ability to the publisher to do something with these particular pieces of intellectual property. Fantastic. And you go backwards and forwards and you say, well, we the publisher would really like to be able to take on the translation rights and the film rights, and in fact let's hop in and have a look to see other sorts of rights. In trade publishing land it's things like first serial and second serial and that sort of thing, but I've got some previous ones here. Anthology rights, if that's still a thing that people break, you might break down the way that you carve up these pieces of intellectual property. There's no hard and fast rules, but these should look fairly familiar, to be honest. Unabridged audio, you might have that in-house nowadays. You might want to have the rights clearly stated so that you can then exercise them with a third party. Extract, ebook, it's a little bit old-fashioned, isn't it? Book club rights. Gosh, does that even happen anymore? Don't know.
Great. So it's that sort of thing. And there's two parts to it. There's the name of the intellectual property parcel, and there's the share. That's how much the author or agent is going to receive from any transactions that the publisher makes with other parties. Great. That is the first type of rights in publishing. And as we've been saying, in consonants, you find that on the contract area. So you go to the work area, there's a one-to-one relationship between a work and this contract. So it's on this page, and you can filter the page to get down to rights. And there we are. So that's where you do that. And then you can print that out in PDF, and that will give you kind of a quiet life going forward, because the whole point of having a really good contract is to avoid confusion about who exactly is doing what. It's not really to hold people to account. It's more to say, this is what we think you mean, yes, and then the other person says, aha, yes, I agree, this is what is going to happen. So very, very fruitful and helpful to do that at this early stage. What are the next sort of rights that exist? The next sort of rights is sales rights. Let us scroll down a tiny bit on the page of this contract until we get to the sales rights area. So it's just below those other bits. Sales rights, this is after you've done the contract. This is, where am I allowed to sell my publications as the publisher within the world? So this is a geographical territories thing. It's not to do with language so much. The language would be an attribute of one of the products that you're selling. What we're focusing on here is, where exactly geographically are you telling the world you are allowed to sell these products in? So it's not language inherently, and it's not to do with duration inherently. The duration of those head rights is covered elsewhere in the contract, and they survive the sort of the length of the contract itself, unless explicitly said in one of the clauses. There's always ways and means, isn't there? So sales rights is where the publisher is broadcasting that they are permitted to sell their publications, their expressions of the intellectual property. So if I've licensed world rights, this is really easy, because I'm saying in the sales rights template, I can sell this throughout the world. Gets more tricky, doesn't it, when you haven't licensed world rights. So we'll take a look at that. We're going to take a look at it, and then I'm going to show you an ONIX file fragment that sort of shows you in monochrome how that information gets sent out to your partners in the ONIX standard. Because I don't know, I just think sometimes it's really nice to, one has to sort of go on trust a little bit. You type something into one system and you just assume that's done now. But I always really like to see with great clarity exactly what my data is doing for me. So, this is world rights. This is fine. If we go into edit this, what are the other options? Well, in consonants, we've got some kind of presets, pre-packaged bundles of sales rights. So that these are like quick picks that you can choose. If you think, oh yeah, Canada and US, that's exactly what I want, I'll click on that. And then if I save that, the summary here, which is quite useful, says it's for sale in Canada and the United States. Great. So what that has done is saved me from adding in the ISO codes CA and US, which is a fractional saving at this point. But what happens if you've got something a lot more fiddly? What if I want to communicate that I am able to sell these products in world excluding Australia and Australian territories and New Zealand, excluding Austria, whatever CX is, CC, I don't know my codes well enough. So that's a crazy one. Let me choose a really difficult one. Oh yeah, this is a good one. UK publisher customary. And you can see we've actually just plain old taken the list of ideal country codes from the book that everyone uses, Selling Rights Edition 8. And if we save that, we can see what they are. So, it's really handy not to have the book in one hand and typing all of these UK publisher customary, apparently, ones into the web form here. So that can be really handy. What if you don't see your perfect bundle on this list? Well, I'm afraid, my friend, you're into custom territory. So if we choose custom, then we don't know yet what we mean, but a new button pops up, add a custom sales rights statement. And now you are into carefully handcrafting your own statement of where you are going to be selling this particular thing. Now, before I go on, so that I don't forget, you'll notice that what we're doing here is defining this at the contract level, which is effectively the work level, because there's a one-to-one relationship between a work and a contract. What if there's different sales rights between products? Well, that is totally doable because the ONIX messaging is always at product level, so we're fine. But it's so, goodness me, so complicated to have to look at that all the time that we only make that option available if you've raised the ticket with us and said, we need to manage our sales rights at product level. And then a whole new world of delight will open up in front of you and you'll be able to specify that. But, it is much, forget computers and ONIX and things, it's just a much quieter, more simple life if you don't have to do that. So we don't present it as a compelling option unless you need it. So anyway, here we are, adding a custom sales right type. And so these are our options. We've spoken before, haven't we, when we're talking about search, that sometimes it's easier, or not easier, sometimes it's more appropriate. It makes more that it's a simplified approach to things if you specify information as a negative. So if you are thinking, well, it's for sale absolutely everywhere except England, then it's easier to say not for sale in the specified countries than it is to specify every country or region in the world except for England. So that's why there's some not fors as well as fors, depending on how much data you want to have to enter and which end of the calculation you're coming from. And there's various reason codes, and as you can imagine, these are ONIX codes, because this is the mechanism by which this information is going to get out into the world. And there's a handy dandy thing here, which is, again, if you're thinking, oh my goodness, I have to type in however many countries there are in the world. I don't actually know for sure. There is some ONIX facilitated pre-packaged parcels of countries, and those are these regions. So here are some Australian regions, here are some Canadian regions, and so on and so forth. So if you see anything here that you think, oh yeah, brilliant, then that's a helpful way through. Or you can start picking off country codes, and you can do that by including regions and countries or excluding regions and countries. So very much sometimes you need to get a cool towel and drape it upon your forehead and then think, what exactly am I trying to do here? Where exactly is this product for sale, and how do I communicate that? Do not hesitate to reach out if you get stuck. As I say, ideally, there's like a pre-packaged option here. And it's, you've got to be careful as well. Things about geopolitics do not stay the same from year to year, from flipping week to week. So, when you say, oh yes, it's UK and Commonwealth, which Commonwealth do you mean?
When you say it's the European area, before or after 2021, weeps. So yeah, so all good stuff. Raise a ticket, I think is the thing there if you get stuck. So that is the second of our types of rights, sales rights, and these are, the geographies that you are selling your publications in. And so that leaves us with the final type of right, which is rights deals. In a rights deal, and I'm going to ignore co-editions for the moment, you are not selling a product that you have printed and published yourself. You are outsourcing that to another publisher. And oftentimes it's a publisher in a different geographical area. Sometimes it's to a publisher who specialises in the format that you're talking about, like audio or unabridged large print, or abridged large print, or abridged audio. Sometimes it's licensing a fragment of a work or a product, as in first serial and second serial. So there's no kind of ONIX drop-down rigid set of specifications to say how you're allowed to decide to carve up your intellectual property, you and the author together. This is a little bit more, however you work is the right way. So let's hop over to a rights deal area and see how that differs from the other two sorts of rights that we've been looking at. So I've got one kind of brewing away over here. We're in our imaginary Feline Books Monsters work area again, and I created a new rights deal, but I haven't added any information to it yet. And so if I have a look at the sort of things I can add, I can say here, who am I granting, who am I kind of subcontracting on these rights to? I have secured them in the head contract. I'm not selling these particular rights. I am choosing to outsource them to somebody else. So the drop down that appears here is from your head contract. We've got it so that you're only really able to set up a rights deal if you've said that you've got those rights in the head contract. I'm slightly divided on this feature because you just have to make sure that consonance reflects reality as much as possible. If you haven't got round to doing your data entry for the head contract yet, it's going to be annoying when you come here and you think, well, where's the translation rights? Well, got to do things in order. Pros and cons, but that's how it is. We've tried to make it so that it will prompt you at least to check whether you've got these rights. Because 25 years into publishing, I have definitely sold the same rights twice. And honestly, everyone, I think, write in if you've never sold the same rights twice. Write in if you don't know the sort of horrible nightmare that I'm trying to save you from here. It's not cool. So let's say that we're selling this. Then we might want to say that who we're licensing this to. If there's a different agency, different publisher, different signatory, different correspondence contact, we might want to make those clear as well. And then we go through and make clear what the language is, what the geographical territory is, and what the duration is of this particular rights deal. I mean, it's fiendish to calculate, isn't it? It's like four-dimensional maths, because you've got language and script, you've got geographical territory, and you've got duration. So, how do you know at any one time that, this particular publisher is selling the French version legitimately? It's really hard stuff. So I think it's a great area to store your information in, a system. And yes, I won't go through all of this at the moment because we're just trying to make it clear what the difference is between the three different types of rights. We've got another stage thing here as well to show that
these rights deals tend to move through stages, like we were looking at with the kanban board as well. So yes, so hopefully that covers some. I mean, if you've never thought about that before, then sorry, and if you have thought about it before, then hooray! Bit of a delightful trip through the system, looking at different sorts of rights. I bet there are others. It's a very compelling word to use, but just goes to show, doesn't it? Naming things is hard and words are important. Great. Oh yeah, so great segue. Let's look at some ONIX, because the sales rights, once you put them into consonants, that's fantastic. But then consonants wants to make sure that everybody out in the world knows that you are selling your particular products in particular geographies. Now, this is one of those things where, we're trying to make sure that if you've, hand on heart agreed with the author that you're not going to sell this product in France because they've already, got an arrangement there, it's incumbent on you, the publisher, to make sure that you tell the world, do not sell this in France. We don't have the rights, we don't have the contract. It would be a real problem for us. There is never any guarantee that other systems will obey the data that you send out. That's not something that any of us can promise. So there is a bit of light peril here, and oftentimes we try and take the approach of just not sending data that can be misinterpreted, but definitely get in touch with us on a support ticket if you'd like to talk through, exactly how best to update certain players in the supply chain for a quiet life, i.e. clarity about who's doing what and when, and there's no room for interpretation, and we have accommodated the variabilities of other people's approaches in terms of honouring the data that they've been instructed with. So let's go to a fragment of ONIX so that we can see how the sales rights have been described in them. So this is a fragment from a product that has been described thus. So in the contract, where we looked at originally, the sales rights are down as for sale in Guernsey, Ireland, Isle of Man, Jersey, and the United Kingdom. And that's because this handy-dandy preset was used, British Isles, blah, 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 blah. So, time passes, the ONIX feeds are set up, an ONIX file is created, and this is what it looks like. And you can always see your ONIX files within your system. There's no special secret locked area. You can, if you go to your main menu and you type in ONIX and go to the ONIX area, you can have a good look around at exactly the files and the data that have been sent to your recipients. You'll see when they got sent, you'll see whether they were picked up, because oftentimes these files get dropped to an SFTP location, which is like an online Finder or Windows Explorer kind of a thing. It's a file. It's like emailing your file to a recipient, but it sort of lands in their folder magically rather than in their email. So yeah, so go and have a poke around. It looks like it's a lot. The fact that it's a kind of a computery font, I think sometimes gets people rightfully sort of a bit, oh, what am I looking at? Computers. But let's just look at this bit by bit, and I can make it even bigger actually. Lovely. So this is the bit of the ONIX message that starts to talk about sales rights, and I can see that because it says sales rights right there. And this is what I love about ONIX. Once you get past the punctuation, it is human readable and computer readable, and that is a pretty sweet spot to be in. So here I am. I know that I'm looking at sales rights, and thankfully I haven't had to get my big list of codes out to see what that means. It just says sales rights.
Next bit down, need a big list of codes because it's gone terse, and it said the sales rights type is number 1. And at that point you have to go away and say, what is number 1? And then look it up. And this is why we have systems like Consonance, isn't it? So that you don't have to type this stuff with your human hands. But sales rights type number 1 means, I think, for sale in countries, maybe exclusively, maybe non-exclusively. Have to have a look. The next bit down is the territory. So it says territory, and then nested within territory says countries included, GB, GG, which must be Guernsey, IE, IM, must be the Isle of Man, and JE, which is Jersey, yeah. And that countries included is nested within territory, because there could be loads of them. It could say countries included, regions excluded. And this is why it's quite useful to use something like Consonance, because you can find yourself saying that this is for sale exactly nowhere, because we've included these countries and then excluded the region that they're all in. It's difficult, but anyway, it's fine. And then the next bit down, so that's describing sales rights type 01. Fantastic. Then there's another sales rights bit. They call it composite. And this is sales rights type 06, which we would have to look up. And countries included is all of these. So if we go back to the contract, then we've sort of excluded that, and that's all fine. So that's it really. Oh, and then rest of world sales rights type, whatever 03 is, that gets embedded there. So it's all quite, it's quite get-atable, quite fun to sort of go in and see, well, I'll look at what number 1 means. I think that means included. And here are the countries, and then I'll look at number 6, and so it's all there. The expression of whatever you've just selected. Yes, so lovely jubbly. That's probably enough looking at, this is called XML. It's like HTML, isn't it? Because you have an opening bit, then you have the content, and then you have a closing bit. So if you've ever seen HTML where you've got like a header level 1, so it says H1, it says H1, then it has the text of the header, and then it has the closing H1. There's that backslash there. So it looks a bit, codey, I suppose, but you sort of settle into it, and it's quite readable. And I'm not going to scroll up and down the page because there's just a lot of it. I think that's the thing. It's sometimes when there's a vast volume of stuff, and of course that's just for one product sent to one recipient one time. There is a sort of sheer volume kind of a thing. But then that's, and a completely appropriate use of computers, isn't it? Not like some of the other flim-flam we see. I bundled depth into ONIX as well because that was quite deep enough. But now let's just finish up by hopping over to the Data Studio and looking to see what we can do with some of that data as well. So Data Studio, lovely. I still haven't turned on, by the way, Data Studio for absolutely every client. It's been a very busy week, and I didn't feel that there was a good moment to receive 10 support tickets saying, what is this triangle thing? So of course, the company that we are currently keeping, we all know about Data Studio, don't we? Been going on about it for a while. But as I said last week, if there's anyone listening who thinks, oh gosh, this is new, what's that? Then have a scamper through your emails, have a look at the notifications in your account. Let us know any questions. Plotted summary is that it's a new dashboard for the searches that you've been enjoying for about 2 years. And it provides us a way to talk about this without having to say, so there's a report and there's a search and there's a thing and there's a blah, blah, blah. Right, anyway, let's have a look at this search that I was playing with. I just want to have a look at some of the kind of ways of looking at
your data through the lens of its ONIX status. So let's just hijack this one, I guess, and have a look at some of the options. I've typed the word ONIX there, so we can see if, I'm going to move the thing, typed the word ONIX there, and I can see a few really good options right at the start. So this first one, layer on whatever filters I want, but also layer on this filter which is only show me the products that are set to go in ONIX. And I can say I want to see only the products that are set to go in ONIX, or only the products that are not set to go in ONIX. So that is a fabby one. What else do we get if we've got the word ONIX there? If I click on products ONIX, this is great and very much useful in the moment, because if you go to a retailer's website on first thing on a Monday morning and you think that is meant to be there now, we sent that last Thursday, why has that not appeared on such and such's website? Well, the first thing you do is come here and check to see whether the product that you're interested in was actually sent to this particular website that you're worrying about, or you might have a different flavour of problem, in which case you might want to see the products that weren't sent to that, if that's the way that you want to come in on it. So that's really helpful. Let's have a look at one last one. There's a lot of ways to identify types of contact that might be the person or organisation to whom you've sent ONIX. So if you're interested in that sort of angle, then there's loads of options there. And then the last one I'll show you, which is a little bit tangential, is get me all of the products that satisfy these conditions that have got a marketing text that is ONIX 2 only, or omits ONIX 2 only. So that's a little insight into the fact that there are at least two versions of ONIX. ONIX 2.1 was deprecated years ago, but publishing industry is big and it takes time for things to percolate through. So some recipients still rely on ONIX 2.1 feeds. Very few, actually, a vanishingly small number now. But some marketing texts, therefore, got deprecated. So in ONIX 3 point something, the most recent version, there's no such thing as a marketing text called key selling points. You do that in a different sort of way. But you might have marketing texts that are described as key selling points. So if you're wrangling with all of that, then there's a way to look for products that have got a marketing text that are or are not ONIX 2 only. So as ever, come to the Data Studio area and see how you can get into your data, how you can interact with it. And while we're here, we are looking at the different types of rights today. So what have we got? We've got rights deals. We could switch to licensed rights types as well to see the share that have been set up in the contract there, and you can see the number of rights deals that they've been exercised on, and layer that on with all sorts of other filters. So yeah, there's a real payoff. If you stay diligent on your data entry, that's undoubtedly a chore. We try and make it as easy as possible, but there you are doing it bravely. But my goodness, what a payoff when that data is now get-atable and interrogatable and usable. Put it to work. So always come to Data Studio. If you have an inkling of what you think you might want to get at, but you can't quite see into the data model of consonants, can't quite fathom how that might best work, then just drop us a support ticket. You'll actually, let me go back to the little thingy. Do you remember that we were talking about those potted sales rights things?
well, remember that we've got this library of examples here, and these are like potted searches. So, and I sort of confided in you, didn't I, that oftentimes these find their genesis in a support ticket where someone's written in saying, I think we've got some title prefixes in the actual title of the product in the work. How do we see that in the data? So here's a search that finds products with a title beginning with a likely prefix but doesn't have any information in the title prefix field itself. So that makes it difficult to alphabetically sort, because everything begins with T for the, or A for the an. So yeah, so there's definitely, you don't have to play this on hard mode. Drop us a line and we will lickety-split give you a search that will make your day just a little bit more palatable. Oh, fantastic. Well, I am going to go and get a coffee, because that was a lot of talking about all the different sorts of rights that there are, and we went into quite a lot of detail. So I hope your brain is suitably expanded and all set for a lovely weekend. Hope the weather picks up. Hope the bank holidays in May come around sooner rather than later. Shouldn't have paused over Easter, should we? We should have just powered on through, and then we wouldn't have to try and get back into the groove of it. I am taking a long weekend this weekend because it's visiting university season. My boy is off in the coming months, so we're going to offer holder days over the next couple of weeks. So busy times, very exciting. Right, have a lovely one. I shall see you on Thursday, next Thursday, as usual. Don't be a stranger, get in touch, like and subscribe, etc. See you later. Bye.